بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. We give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we adore Him. We send salutations upon the noblest of mankind, His household, His companions, and those who tread their footsteps till the day of recompense. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to count us amongst them. Allahumma ameen. So in this episode, inshallah, we will be discussing the rules of mad. In the previous episode, we talked about the types of mad that exist, and we mentioned the primary mad and the secondary mad. We mentioned that the primary mad is any elongation in the Quran that is formed by the three letters of mad: waw, ya, or alif, each of them with sukun. And preceding the alif is a letter with fatha, preceding the waw is a letter with dhamma, and preceding the ya is a letter with kasra. So we said the secondary mad is any mad that has a sabab, including, that is, a secondary mad is an advanced primary mad. That is, you'd find a primary mad with a sabab. When you find a mad in the Quran, a letter of mad in the Quran, and you find connected to it, either before or after it, a sabab, which is a causal and effective cause of mad, of a secondary mad. We said the sabab could be hamza or sukun. So this type of mad is called a secondary mad, and we said it has numerous types. So this is what we want to discuss today: the examples, the types of secondary mad that we have in the Quran. So Ibn al-Jamsuri says in his poem that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, للمد أحكام ثلاثة تدوم وهي الوجوب والجواز واللزوم فواجب إن جاء همز بعد مد في كلمة وذا بمتصل يعد وجائز مد وقصر إن فصل كل بكلمة وهذا المنفصل ومثل ذا إن عرض السكون وقفا كتعلمون نستعين أو قدم الهمز على المد وذا بدل كآمنوا وإيمانا خذا ولازم إن السكون أصل وصلا ووقفا بعد مد طولا. So here he is mentioning to us the types of the rules of all the secondary types of elongations that we have in the Quran. So he says the mad ahkam thalathatun tadum, that all the secondary mujud, all the secondary elongations in the Quran, they have three basic rules. That is always permanent. It's always static to them. The first one is what? Wahiya al-wujub. There are some of them that are compulsory. That is, to elongate in the case of this mad is what? It is compulsory. Wal jawaz, then we have those that are what? That are permissible. It's very permissible for you to elongate. And if you do not elongate, apart from when normally it is basic that you elongate. When you say mad, you elongate to haraka. So to give extra elongation, there are some that is wujub. That the rule for it is to give extra elongation in the case of these ones, it is compulsory. And there are some that is jawaz, that is barely permissible for you to give extra elongations. It is not compulsory. And then there is the one that is what? Luzum, that is necessary. It is very necessary for you to actually give extra elongations. So we'll take them one by one, inshallah. So the first mad we have here in the second line is fawajibun in jaa hamzun ba'da mad. So we recognize the letters of mad, that you have alif as the first letter of mad, and preceding that alif is unvoweled. That is, you will not see any vowel on that alif. And preceding that alif is a letter with what? With fatha. Or you see waw, which is unvoweled, which means it's taking sukun. It is not taking any haraka. And before that letter waw, you have a letter with what? With dhamma. And you have ya. And preceding that ya is a letter with an unvoweled ya. And preceding that unvoweled ya is a letter with kasra. So anytime you see any of these letters of mad, you now see a sabab. Which sabab are we going to see? Hamza. For the case of wajib, so the first one is called al-wajibu al-muttasil. Al-wajibu al-muttasil. So this type of mad is when you have a letter of mad preceding the sabab hamza, that is the cause the causal agent hamza when you see it preceding hamza. So in Ja'a Hamzun Ba'da Mad. So if you have Hamza coming after a letter of Mad, fi kilmatin in the same word. Note this one, it has to be in the same word. Whether muttasil yu'ad. This one is called muttasil. So it is wajib. It's called wajibul muttasil. The one that is compulsory, it is connected. That is the letter, the sabab is connected to the sabab is connected to the letter of Mad in the same word. So you have an example in وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ. In وَجَاءَكُمْ you can see the alif mad, the letter of mad which is alif preceded by a letter with fatha is connected, it is preceding hamza, and both of them are in the same word. So the fact that since they are both in the same word is called muttasil, that is connected. So this is the first type that we're going to discuss. To say وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ is what? Maddu al-wajibu al-muttasil. Al-maddu al-wajibu al-muttasil. Another example of al-maddu al-wajibu al-muttasil is su al-adhab. Su al-adhab. So in this case too, you have a letter of mad which is waw preceded by a letter with dhamma, and it is connected with hamza in the same word. That is su'a is a word. So you have the hamza and the waw occurring in the same word. So it is what? What will wajib al-muttasil also. And you have si bihim. Si is a word. Bihim is another word. So it is connected. Hamza and the letter of mad, they are connected together in the same word. They are preceding each other in the same word. So this is called al-mad al-wajib al-muttasil. And the duration for this mad is 4 or 5 haraka. And I mentioned, how do you count haraka? So basically it is the duration, what it takes you to unlock your fingers moderately, each finger. So you unlock a finger as 1 haraka. So وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ. So that's duration that it takes you to unlock 1 finger is 1 haraka. So for this it is 4 or 5 haraka. So if you start with 4 haraka, you should finish with 4 haraka. If you start with 5 haraka, you should finish with 5 haraka. So that's the first one. And this type of mad is compulsory for you to elongate 4 or 5 haraka. That is extra mad. That's the first example of far'i. The second example is وَجَائِزٌ مَدٌّ وَقَصْرٌ انفصل كُلٌّ بِكِلْمَةٍ وَهَذَا الْمُنفَصِلُ. So you have the permissible mad, the permissible elongation, and it is shortened. It can be shortened also, this type of elongation. It is when you have the hamza and the letter of mad separated. That is, you have them in separate words. So this one is called munfasil. You have the hamza and the letter of mad, because hamza is also the cause of this. So we said the cause can be 2. It can be 2. It's either hamza or what? Or sukun. For jaiz and wajib, their causes are hamza. What causes the mad is what is hamza. So you have basically hamza causes 3 types of mad. We have the first one is wajib that we discussed. The second one is jaiz that we are discussing now. So here you have the hamza coming after the letter of mad directly, but they are not in the same kalima. They are not in the same word. They are not in the same word. An example is in where Allah SWT says bima unzil. Bima is a word. Unzila is another word. You can see that the letter of mad is separated from the letter. The letter of mad is separated from the hamza. So it is not in the same word. So you have bima and unzil. So in this case, it is jaiz. It is permissible for you to elongate more than 2 haraka. That is, the duration is 2, 4, or 5. So you can leave it at the basic elongation, which is for every mad 2 haraka. And you can actually increase it to up to 4 haraka or 5 haraka. And this has to be, if you start with 2, you have to finish with 2. If you start with 4, you have to finish with 4. If you start with 5, you have to finish with 5. So قالوا آمنا. So قالوا آمنا. And also وفي أنفسكم. So that's another example. So you have the letter of mad in one word rather. So you have the ya in one word, finishing one word, and the letter of mad, which is the sabab letter, which is hamza, in another word. Though they are preceding each other directly, but they are not in the same word. So when they are not in the same word, they are called munfasil. It's called maddul jaizul munfasil. When they are in the same word, they are called al maddu al wajib al muttasil. That's connected one. So it is separated. It is called al maddu al jaizu al munfasil. So that's the second example. So anytime you see it in the Quran, we should be able to differentiate between al-jaiz al-munfasil and al-wajib al-muttasil. So al-wajib al-muttasil, the least duration for al-wajib al-muttasil is 4 haraka. The least duration for al-jaiz al-munfasil is 2 haraka. Then it moves on to the next one. It says ومثل ذا إن عرض السكون ومثل ذا إن عرض السكون. And like this, when the sukun is temporary, that is when you see a temporal, when you stop, there are two types of sukun. Yes, it's the temporal sukun and the static sukun or the permanent sukun. The temporal sukun is a sukun that does not exist. It is not written. It is you that actually brings up, you come up with the sukun, because in the Arabic language, when you stop on a word, you do not pronounce the last letter. So because you are stopping on that word, you are giving it a temporal sukun. So that temporal sukun, if it is preceded by a letter of mad, it is called al-mad al-arid sukun. So waqfan, so if you stop on a word, for example, nasta'in, waqfan ka ta'lamuna nasta'inu. So you say nasta'in, or let's look for another example. You say hisab, hisabin, and ghafurun, and ar-rahim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Normally, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, it is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahimi. But because you are stopping on mim, it is what? That sukun that you are giving that mim, it is called mad arid. It's called a sukun la-arid, and the temporal sukun. And before that letter that is taking a temporal sukun, you have a letter of mad, which is ya. So because of this, you have to elongate. It becomes a mad. So this kind of mad, you can elongate to 4 or 6 haraka. The duration is 2, 4, or 6 haraka. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So you have it in the whole of Fatiha, just ending with mad arid sukun once you are stopping. So if you are not stopping, the mad arid sukun does not exist. It is just mad tabi'i, the primary mad. But once you are stopping on it, it is the secondary mad. So you have it in Ghafur, Ghafur. So because you are stopping on it, we are giving that ra a temporal sukun, and there's a letter of mad preceding it, so it is taking what it becomes mad arid sukun. And also hisab, inna Allah sari'ul hisab. So because you are stopping on ba, you're giving it a temporal sukun and temporary sukun, and before the letter that is taking a temporary sukun, because you are stopping on it, is a letter of mad. So this way you have mad arid sukun, which can be elongated to 4 or 6 haraka. This is the third type of mad, which is mad arid sukun. And the next one, it says أو قدم الهمز على المد وذا بدل كآمنوا وإيمانا خذا. So you have it when you have this. Also is the third type of mad that is caused by hamza. So mad arid sukun is caused by a sukun, but it's caused by the temporal sukun and not the permanent sukun. So the third one, which is the third type of mad that is caused by hamza, is when you have a letter of mad, but the letter of mad is preceded by hamza, and the hamza is not succeeding now, it is preceding. In wajib al-muttasil and jaiz al-munfasil, the hamza succeeds, that is, the hamza comes after letter of mad. It is either connected or disconnected, as it's either in the same word or in different words. But in the case of badal, you have the letter of mad preceding, you have the sabab letter, which is hamza, preceding the letter of mad. So example is amanu and iman and khuda. So amanu, it is 2 hamza. You have one hamza and the second hamza is taking sukun. So or you can write it as hamza and letter of mad. Then you have mim and nun and waw. So you have hamza preceding letter of mad, and also iman, and initially it was imanan, that is hamza preceding a letter hamza. But if it is written in the Rasm Usmani form, you have imanan. So you have hamza preceding ya, which is the letter of mad. Hamza preceding ya, which is the letter of mad. So it is what? Badal. Another example is amanna. So you can see the hamza preceding what? Alif. Another example is Adam. And so many numerous examples that you have. So anytime you see the hamza preceding a letter of mad, it could be alif, it could be waw, it could be ya. Utu. So hamza preceding waw with dhamma, with a sukun rather, and preceding is a letter of dhamma. So when you have the hamza preceding a letter of mad, it is what? It is mad badal. And this one is always 2 haraka. You elongate to just 2 haraka. You do not elongate more than 2 haraka. So, and the last one that he mentioned is walazimun, and that's the mad, which is the necessary one, that is caused by a permanent. In sukun usila, this one is caused by a permanent sukun. So if you have a letter of mad preceding a permanent sukun, waslan wa waqfan, whether you are stopping on it or your recitation is continuous, the sukun is always permanent. Ba'da maddin tuwila. So this occurs after a mad that is what elongated. So if you have a letter of mad, and you have after the letter of mad a real sukun, that is a permanent sukun, then this is called lazim, and all the mad and all the elongation under lazim is what is 6 haraka. Inshallah, in the next episode we would explain the 4 types of mad to lazim, and that's going to be the last chapter, inshallah, or second to the last chapter, inshallah. So subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.